At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hey, Steven, are we on today? Are we raw talking? Are you going to be there, or am I going to fly solo or bring in a special guest? Hello, Steven. Earth to Steven. All right. I guess we'll figure it out. Bye.
So I wonder who the special guest is going to be on today's episode. Do you guys have any guesses as of yet? Maybe I should give you some hints as who is the special guest coming into the RAWtalk this week, because you heard the voicemail and I was like, where's Steven? So let me think. Let's play Guess the Guest. This person is someone that has been on RAWtalk before. In fact, they were on the second RAWtalk that was ever done. And the last tip, or the last what's it called? What is that thing called? The last hint. It's called a hint. The last hint I'm going to give you is this person is, I don't know, special guest. Why don't you give us a fact about yourself?
Hello? My name is Vanessa Joy, and I like Canon cameras.
Is that like Steve? It's Steven, everybody, out of retirement.
That is actually true, though. I was on the second ever episode of RAWtalk back in the day when it was just you and Leora was like your sidekick?
Leora was the sidekick. You know, you got to get a female on the show because females always help the show, but no one ever seems to stick around long enough. Yeah, so Steven's here. Steven, do you want to tell us why you're here and you're not supposed to be?
Yeah, so we went in for an ultrasound before the C-section, and she has flipped yet again. So she is now head down again, and it is a waiting game at this point. We canceled the C-section, and we shall see. Every day is going to be a gamble. I am fully prepared, and I worked, 80 to 100 hours probably last week trying to get everything prepped and ready for Tuesday, and Tuesday came, and now I'm still here. So luckily I still have some stuff to work on in the meantime. Thankfully I could still do RAWtalk too. Might even be here next week, who knows, because the due date is actually August 26th, which is this Saturday. It'll be tomorrow after you're listening to this on Friday, so we shall see. Hopefully she's here soon, safe and sound.
I should also say, well, welcome, but let me just say that if you do hear some extra noise today, I've got some workers upstairs putting in lights. We've got our track lighting going in, so they're dragging shit and dropping shit and doing the stuff that working people do. Drop shit.
Let's just hope they don't destroy all of the gear that's on the floor right now.
I've already
probably
mentioned
sawdust and shit everywhere.
I need to move everything. I need to do this, whatever. Like, I need to tell me I need to move something, I will move it.
Hey, you remember that time at the factory when we first moved in and we set up all of the gear in the gear vault suite, whatever you want to call it, and then they made all the bowling alley tables and sawdust was everywhere, on every tripod, on every gear. When I say every gear, I mean like literally gears in the tripod heads and stuff. It was a mess.
They literally, when they cut the wood,
they had nothing to collect the dust.
Just fire the wood back into the wall, right into the freaking
tripods and light stands and everything.
It's like, why didn't you move it? Why were you so goddamn lazy? They're so lazy that we're still waiting for our door on my office at the old place that I'm not even at anymore.
Well, what's funny is when I was packing up those tripods, there were 2 or 3 that were pretty much completely damaged from that day of work. And I finally found them buried all the way in the back corner. And when I was taking them out, they still were covered in sawdust. That's how much sawdust they threw in that corner when we were moving in at the old place. We were so pissed.
Yes, that was like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, how could you be so ignorant? Like,
why wouldn't you just be careful?
And why wouldn't you just cover it or do something or say something, whatever?
Put up a painter's plastic or something, something.
Anything, instead of just being lazy and half-assed and whatever. That's what happens sometimes with people. They go lazy and half-assed. So we've got to talk about Steven being here. I saw Oppenheimer in 70mm.
Oh.
We've got some SanDisk updates. Sony 300 2.8. Tamron released the lens, the 35-150 for Nikon Z mount.
Nice.
There's some other Canon news if we get to it that's rumored. And I'm switching to Fuji, everybody.
Whoa. What?
Whoa. That's not clickbait.
Does Fuji work with us now?
No, Fuji still does not work with us. And neither do the Fujis. One time.
Lauryn Hill?
Two time. Yeah. Shaggy.
Todd used to work with Lauryn Hill, remember?
Yeah, Todd always talked about picking them up in the Bentley at the airport. He's like, yeah, the head of the label, because Philly was a major hotspot for the rap label game. I forget what it was. Was it Rough House Records?
I think it was, yeah.
Let me look this up real fast. Let's see. Rough House Records. Let's see the wiki for that. Rough House Records, an American record label founded in 1989 by Chris Schwartz and Joe Nicolo. Joe? Is that Phil's brother?
I think so, yeah.
You think Joe is... Yeah, Phil and Joe Nicolo. That's right. It is Phil's brother. That's why Phil's able to open a record pressing plant these days, because he made all the money back then. And a joint venture with Columbia Records in 1999, Schwartz and Nicolo closed the label, and Schwartz and somebody else, Rough Nation, whatever. They had notable artists, Beanie Siegel, Chiba, Cypress Hill. Todd specifically told us a story about Cypress Hill picking them up at the airport. Dandelion, DMX, Fuji's, Lauryn Hill, Praz, whoever that is, not Praz Michelle. I don't know who Praz Michelle is. I know Praz. Wyclef, King Britt, Cool Keith, Chris Cross. What? There's a lot here.
I know you don't have to name every single person on the label.
Jared Polin, Schoolie
so
D.
It looks like they did the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, like her first debut solo album on Rough House.
Which sold like 1 billion albums.
Yeah, that thing was huge.
And Todd definitely did not see any of that. Actually, he has one of the he has, I think, the platinum record or something in his basement.
He does have something, yeah. Yeah, that was the album with Doo-Wop, That Thing.
That thing. Ging. How do we get on this topic, Steven?
I don't know. Is that the only album she ever put out as a solo artist?
Miseducation of Lauryn Hill?
Yeah.
I really don't know. Huh. I don't recall. Anyway, this is RAWtalk episode 65. I'll maybe think about... Well, Steven will tell me how we got on that subject later when he's editing this, but we've got stuff to talk about, and we're gonna do it. I saw... Well, first off, I'm happy to have you here. I mean, I was hoping that you had your baby, obviously.
Me too.
You know, that you can start seeing what it's like, wait till you have a kid.
That's what I always hear.
And then wait till you have a kid. And then, well, anyway, so I saw Oppenheimer in 70 millimeter IMAX at King of Prussia the other day.
Oh.
And the first time I was supposed to see it, the power went out at the theater before we could see it.
That happened with me when I was watching Terminator 3. I don't know if I ever told you that story.
Yeah, I remember that.
The last 10 minutes of the movie.
Oh, wow.
Actually, it might have been the last 5 minutes. So I didn't know at the time how much longer the movie had, and it cut off right before like pretty much the world ended, and I had to go back and watch the entire thing again just for the last 5 minutes.
Oh, that sucks.
You wonder why these movie theaters don't have some sort of backup generators. I feel like it's fairly often when the power goes out.
Yeah, well, I don't know, but regardless, it was difficult to get tickets again because you have to pre-buy tickets for it. There's only 19 theaters in the United States showing it in 70 millimeter actual film. And when ours didn't work, that meant that we couldn't go just reschedule for another time. Thankfully, they added more dates and I was able to go in there and buy tickets. I went, my buddy Troy, my dad went, he wanted to see it. My friend Katie and her parents went. So they were just, people wanted to see. Yeah, well, people wanted to see it. I wanted to see it in 70 millimeters to honestly see if it was worth it in 70 millimeters, right?
And was it
worth it? Well, when they first turned on the projector, I'm like, it's not as sharp as digital because it's not going to be. It's film.
It's not like watching a movie at my house. My giant 160 inch?
161 inch.
Excuse me, 161. Every
inch matters. Yeah. So when it first turned on, I was like, meh. But very quickly you realize the screen isn't 16 by 9. It goes all the way to the bottom of the theater. It goes all the way to the top of the theater.
Theater?
I don't... Yeah, I've been saying theater lately because that's how some other people say it. It's not just a theater, it's a theater.
Oh, theater.
It sounds more impressive when you say theater. But yeah, what was amazing about it in 70 millimeter was the depth. Just like the depth that was created because of the size of the film, the type of lenses, the IMAX, and everything was insane. There's a scene where when you're at a congressional hearing and you've got the congressman or the senators up and then you've got someone sitting at a table out, right? And they're talking. They're the ones being grilled or whatever. So they cut to an angle maybe 3 times in the movie where it's behind or it's from the perspective of the senator or congressperson. And the way that the desk went out of focus in front of them and it created such dimension to the people in the background, it was insane, just the cinematography of it. So that part was awesome. And there was also times where there's a jigsaw going upstairs right now.
I hear it a little bit, but it's not terrible.
Yeah, they're
it is what it is.
Probably cutting and getting shit all over the place.
Can't wait to find sawdust in every single tripod again.
Which I didn't know they were doing that.
Oh, I really figured. I mean, they have to attach lights and tracks on the giant beams.
They're cutting poles right now. You know, the pipe.
Yeah, of course. It's the conduit. They have to cut it to length.
The cinematic aspect of it was insane. The visuals on the screen, when they went full screen, top to bottom, left to right, it was awesome. I didn't expect to feel like that, but it was just because of the sheer massive size of the film and the screen. They utilized it all.
Did you feel immersed in the movie at that point? Like, did you actually? Okay, interesting.
Yeah, well, they used a lot of. It felt like they used some wider angle things where it just puts you into the scene.
Is the sound more 3-dimensional too, more of a 360 effect, or is it just kind of typical like?
No, I think it's better because it's IMAX, so that means they have speakers behind the screens and everything.
Dolby Digital.
I'm not even sure what it is, but it's a 3-hour movie, so it's a long movie. You're sitting on your ass for quite a while. It is long.
How many times did your dad get up and pee?
None.
Oh, nice.
None. I didn't get up and pee either. I peed before the movie started.
You can barely make it through RAWtalk without peeing because you drink so much water.
I'm totally fine. I'm totally fine. I made sure to pee right before. I also didn't drink a lot of water.
I'm sure you got a nice bucket of popcorn, right? And put a ton of butter.
No popcorn for me.
Yep, you got a ton of candy too, right? Maybe some soda.
0.
Okay.
Nope.
So
I haven't had soda in a decade, Steven. No, I don't miss soda. I don't miss soda at all.
It is the one time I will treat myself to popcorn is in the movie theater.
I have a popcorn
theater.
I have a popcorn machine at home. And don't tell me it's not the same, because you know my popcorn is really good.
Your popcorn is pretty good, yeah. That's because it's like a legit popcorn machine that you have.
It is. I bought that when I moved into the first place.
Yep.
I can't believe it still works after 11 years. Well, I don't use it that often. That's why.
Probably never been cleaned.
Steven, it's been cleaned. When I moved to the new place, I actually cleaned it, but it's better if you don't. It gets all that grease and oil residue that's better to have. It adds flavor.
It's like a grill or whatever. Yeah, you kind of want to cake on some of that stuff, so it really does.
You do.
It really does add flavor.
It does add flavor. It's a flavor saver. That's the good news. It's a flavor saver. So, yes, Oppenheimer is long. I didn't feel like it was an hour too long like some people said. I thought it was a great movie, right? I thought it was a great movie, and cinematically it's absolutely stunning and incredible in 70 millimeters. So, if you can see it in an actual projected theater in 70 millimeters, I recommend it. But I have nothing to compare it to when it comes to in a regular theater. But I can't see having that full immersion that you get as you get in 70 millimeter.
I don't recall if I ever actually saw anything in true IMAX.
Well, you've been to the Tuttleman Omniverse Theater? You've been to the Franklin Institute, right?
I've been to that, but I mean like a real movie.
Well,
like I've seen clips obviously there and whatever movie they show at the Franklin Institute, but I don't know if I've ever seen like an actual movie front to back.
Yeah, no, that's the first time for me because they don't do it.
Exactly.
But it was incredible. It really was an incredible experience. So
Would you see it again?
Like it? No.
Okay, so it wasn't that
maybe.
Good.
No, I mean maybe.
That's the true test.
I mean it was good. I mean the acting is incredible. Robert Downey Jr., Matt Damon. You know, there's so many people in the movie. Remy Malek.
Yeah, he's good.
There's so many there's so many good actors.
So many A-list
movie.
actors. Yeah.
It was good. Like it was a really good. Would I see it again? Yeah, I'd probably watch it again at home. Maybe pick up on some different things. Would I see it again in the theater? I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
I wasn't asking in the theater, but
movie.
More just would you watch it again? Because I know you're very big on like I only watch it once and that's it.
Yeah, I don't like to rewatch things because I've already seen it and my brain is a vault, so I don't want to. You know,
I have a photographic memory, no pun intended. I am the smartest human alive.
Sometimes. Oh, I remember what I wanted to talk about. I made a note and I couldn't remember.
You should remember. Your brain's a vault.
It's about a woman It's about a woman. I had another encounter with a woman recently. So I go out to dinner myself. It was like Saturday night. I go to Vernick, right? I know it's a great place to eat in Philly.
I like that you say it like I know what you're talking about.
You don't get into the city.
No.
But there's a place called Vernick. It's it's one of my favorite restaurants in the city. But you can actually walk in without a reservation because they have a bar area that serves the full menu. So I go in, I sit there at the bar. There's a woman to the left of me, no one to the right. I sit there, and she leans over at some point, and she goes, "I think we went on a, I think we went on a date 10 years ago."
What?
And I'm like, "Fill me in." I'm like, "Did we?"
Your brain's a vault, though.
It is, but hold on, Steven. We're getting to the vault part. I kind of had an idea, but I'm like, "Fill me." She's like, "It was like 10 years ago. I don't remember what we did." And I'm like, "Did you have roommates?" She's like, "Yes." I'm like, "Was your room to the right in the apartment?" She's like, "Yes." And I'm like, "All right, we went to the Barnes and we had dinner." And I remember a little bit of the aftermath, but I can't share most of that.
Hey-o.
But I didn't bring that up. Not like I don't think anything really happened there, but I remember going back to her room. That's how I remember her apartment, because she was showing me some of her paintings, and then that was that, right? We didn't go out after that. I'm like, well, all right. So I remembered all that. And then I'm like, well, what's your number? And I'm not asking for any reason other than to look up a text to see if you're still in my phone to see what date. So she gave me her number, and I'm like, yeah, it came up as May 2014. She's now married with 2 kids.
Wow.
One kid going into first grade. She got married a couple years after.
It couldn't have been that much after if she's got one in first grade already.
Yeah, 7 years old. So, yeah, I mean, it was like 2.5 years after. Yeah, like 2.5 years. So I was like, okay, hi. Do you have any single friends?
you still have those roommates.
I think they were men, and I'm not into that this week.
Perfect.
But but no, that. So we had a good conversation. It was good. I mean, what are you going to do? So basically, what she said is her husband was giving her the night off. He got her a hotel room in the city to be alone.
Oh, wow.
So while he watched the kids. And I mean, she brought that up. I was like, so are you taking me to your hotel room? Is that what you're asking for right now?
So now she's hitting on single men and has an empty hotel
strange
room?
Yeah, you want some strange right now?
She got a hall pass is what you're saying?
Well, that went through my brain, but I certainly wasn't going there at all.
Was she all done up too, dressed up?
She just, no, I don't know. She was fine.
Okay.
I think she was a little older than me too at the time.
Gotcha.
No, it was just interesting. Sit there, have a conversation randomly. Someone's like, we went out 10 years ago. I mean, it didn't faze me at all. I was like, okay.
And I think you're a very hard person to forget with that hair and everything. Right. And
it was down in
still
curls.
Probably wearing the same shirt you wore that day.
Probably still wearing the same shirt, just less tight. No, because I wore the cotton ones back then.
I know, but it still said I shoot raw in big bold letters.
You don't forget this face or this penis.
You don't ever wear a different shirt anymore at this point, do you?
It's either sleeves or sleeveless or a different color randomly. Or if I have to dress up at a wedding. Like I got dressed up at your wedding.
Yeah.
But I have an I Shoot Raw shirt under my other shirt. So.
And I Shoot Raw underwear too, I'm sure, right?
No, I don't wear those out. I only wear those to yoga because they're super tight. But I can't take off my shorts at yoga. I mean, I could take off my shorts at yoga. I mean, girls are showing. There was this. Did I tell you about the girl wearing the bodysuit a couple weeks ago? I think I did.
You did, yes.
You could see everything. Like I was behind her, trying not to look, but I'm like, butthole, right there.
I mean, honestly, it's like they're naked. They really are naked when they wear.
And that's why I can't go with just my I Shoot Raw underwears because it's like junk.
Because there's a little tic tac in the front.
There's a little tic tac in the front. What flavor? What color? White?
Orange.
Or orange. Yeah. So that's so anyway, let's get back to RAWtalk. But that was interesting sitting next to that woman. But I was like, yeah, do you have any friends? Like, fine. Do you have any friends? Because we had a good conversation.
Yeah. That's good.
It just unfortunate. I mean, I read through the text messages from back then just to see what was said and everything, and it was
how did it
was
end?
Interesting. Oh, I mean, she's just like, I think we're looking for 2 different things, which wasn't exactly true, but it's just like, I'm not going to try and change your mind if you feel that way.
Sure.
You know, it's just like, what do you want? Because I know what I want, and I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. I wanna.
So tell me what you want.
I wanna.
What you really,
I wanna
really
zing a
want.
zing zinga with a zing a zing. If you want to be my lover, you got to get with my friend. What do you mean I got to get with your friends? Making love forever. Friendship. Wait, I got to sleep with your friends? Is that how it works? You get to sleep with their friends?
That sounds like it.
That's what I think. And then they sing "To Become One."
When to become one.
I love that song. The Spice Girls' "To Become One" is like a great
instant
song.
classic, man.
It's so good.
It's art.
Somewhere in my memories, someone lost in time.
What do you think in like 400 years people are going to look back and be like, remember the Spice Girls?
Everything and wondering. Or is that's the song? I was thinking of S Club 7. They had a good song too.
Yeah, similar song.
Very similar. Okay, so that was it. That was my story from the bar. Let SanDisk release some firmware. We talked about this a couple weeks ago where SanDisk drives were just dying, and SanDisk has not recognized or said anything about it at all.
I will say too, again, I had an 8 terabyte, the Pro SSD hard drive, not so much the extreme small portable drives that are having the issue. I have not seen anyone report on the 8 terabyte drives, but again, that's what died on me. We've actually had no issues with the portable ones, so I don't know if it's a one-off for me that happened, or if it's just the small drives.
They haven't acknowledged anything like what the firmware actually does. So it says disconnects, like it solves a disconnect. I haven't updated it. I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't rely on them. I don't think I would buy them, and I got to see what else I should buy next to just have a storage, or if it's a industry-wide issue. But that's all. I just wanted to bring that up, that they did put out a firmware for the Extreme Pro and the Extreme Pro V2, or the Extreme V2 and the Extreme Pro SSDs. So the next thing to move into is the Sony 300 2.8 is being tested out in the world right now at the World Running Championships or something, where you, like, if you run fast, you win type of thing. The faster you run,
is that how that works?
The more you win. Yeah. And then they added spears this year, so if you're behind, you could spear it at someone and hit them in the Achilles, and then you can win the race. It's new rules. Not really new rules. So the Sony 300 2.8 is a lens that I don't think many photographers are actually waiting for on the Sony front. A lot that I talk to in the sports world rather have a 200 to 400 or a 180 to 400.
Well, or now you have the 100 to 300.
Or the 100 to 300. I think with Canon coming out with the 100 to 300, that basically obsoletes a 300 2.8. It just doesn't do anything special. Now, if there was some secret thing that it did, I mean, if it had a teleconverter, even if it was like a 1X, right? Not like a 1.4, if there was just something different, and it just added a little more zhuzh to it, and they came up with some technology which made it great and awesome, then yeah, that would be unique. But the 100 to 300, now that's a unique lens. I'm still waiting to see if I can buy one from Canon, or if they can give me a long-term loaner.
When did we find out about that 300? Wasn't it like a development announcement like a year ago? They told us during one of the camera briefings. And we're like, why are you even telling? Like, they had nothing to say about it. They were like, and we're releasing a 300 2.8, and that's it. You're under NDA.
No, what happened, Steven, is they said we have a call, an NDA call. We get on the call. It's a separate call from everything else.
1 minute phone call.
We get on the phone call, and they go, guys, this call is to let you know that we're developing a 300 2.8.
Done. Phone call.
And I was
done.
like,
can you tell us anything?
Anything else? No. And I'm not going to ask any questions at that point on these calls, because they can't share any information because they have nothing.
It's not their fault. Yeah.
There are some other people that get on that call and are like, how much is the price? Do you know when it's going to be released? Can you tell me anything? I mean, can you tell me everything right now? That you just told me you can't tell us anything more, but I'm still going to ask the question as if you're going to answer it if I just keep asking it.
So that wasn't a private phone call, right? That was everybody was on with us, a group call.
Yeah, it was a group call.
So during these group calls, for anyone that doesn't realize it, anyone can basically ask questions, and we can see who's asking those questions, and it's usually people from the industry. And yeah, we kept our mouths shut because there's nothing they can say, and you still had people asking questions when they specifically said we have nothing else to offer.
Dumb questions.
Gotta love it. Yeah.
Dumb questions. Oh, I will chime in every once in a while. I did on a Canon call back in the day. It was one of those developments for the R3.
Yeah.
Remember where they could only tell you so much.
Yep.
And you don't want to sit there and grill the Canon guy. He is only doing, or they, if it's a woman.
Don't shoot the messenger.
They're only doing their job. They can only give you the information that they know.
Yep.
And the guy goes, look, this is what I can give you. I don't know any of this other stuff. And this one person kept trying to ask the same question, but in different ways. And they just were like, well, could you possibly do this? And then he's like, I can't. And then he keeps going. And then I unmuted myself and was like, so I can answer your fucking question. You know, I was like, shut the fuck up. You know, it's just like, shut the fuck up. And then I get texts from Canon. One was like, I think they found it to be funny. And then on the other side, they were like, maybe you don't you want to do that? I was like, someone needed to do it because I know you were getting frustrated that they were doing it. Someone needed to tell the guy to just shut the fuck up.
That reminds me of our Nikon Z8 call when you like freaked out on me for a second.
I fucking know how to use the microphone,
You
Steven.
had issues with your mic. It was like, I don't know, it just wasn't working. And I'm like, did you try the unmute button, Jared? And you're like, I know how it works.
No, so
what everybody, I'm like, okay, I'm just trying to help, man.
I know, but what it was Teams. We don't use Teams all the time.
So,
right?
And all of these briefings happen on different, like Zoom or Teams or what's the other one? Something Cisco, yeah, they're all types of different software, so it's always a pain to be like, wait, how do I unmute this? How do I do this? Because they're all different.
Well, because some of them just work. You just get on there. Yep. But that's that story.
I know, Steven. I know how it works.
I know how it fucking works. And
well,
the whole room's like, hey,
F-bomb.
Jared. I'm like, what's up, everybody? Yeah, I was fucking pissed off that it wasn't working, and now it's working. And I always log in under somebody else's name. I always put in a different name until one of the companies was like, I actually got denied from a call. I get on one of the briefings. Now it's a private briefing. I get onto the private briefing under assumed a different name, and they kept kicking me out. So I finally texted the guy. I was like, no, I am this person. I was just messing with you. So some of the companies have requested that I don't sign in under fake names anymore.
Yes, I usually get a text before the call, like, please make sure Jared uses his real name this time.
They go through Steven.
I'm like, I'll try, man. I'll try.
I'm the boss, but they go through Steven to try and temper me.
Because they know you're going to be like, F off. I'll do what I want.
I do what I want. I'm going to wear my Nikon jacket on a Sony trip.
Not disrespectful at all.
Hey, I'm not bought, Steven. You can't buy me.
You're on a paid trip by that company.
I'm not under any pretenses to... I'm not going to wear that company's brand just because I'm on their trip.
No, but I think that you just shouldn't be wearing other camera brands during that trip. That's all.
We haven't been on a trip in a while, so.
What trip was that where you were wearing like a Nikon jacket?
That was...
it was like a Sony trip, right?
It was a Sony trip out in the Arizona or...
It just got Nikon all over it.
Well, the thing is, I actually had my hoodie on, so I could switch. I could put the Nikon D850 jacket... Well, now we have our own jackets. I went ahead and made the same jacket out of the same material because I liked it.
Well, what's funny is after that trip, I think all of the companies started giving us jackets for those trips so we could wear their logos and their brand around.
You know, just like when Sony sends a new jacket and Steven doesn't get one.
Yep.
All right. Tamron officially released the 35 to 150 for Nikon Z mount.
It's awesome for Nikon users.
Yeah, it's been out for the E-mount before. Our review should be up at this point. That's done. I filmed it not knowing Steven would be around. I did it at my desk because we don't have the set up yet here. And
but luckily, we still kind of hashed it out right before you filmed. I still got to send over some notes, and we got to talk about how to film the video. So I think it worked out without me being there, and you were completely on your own pretty much for that.
Yeah, which is fine because I started it, so I can still make content when I have to. I can still do it.
Yeah, it's just I have to usually force you to do certain things. Go over the outside of the lens. Go over certain things that you don't care to talk about, but other people will.
Steven. I did. Oh yeah, Steven made me the notes. The reason he was able to make me the notes.
I made you the notes so then you can follow it to a T. And you kind of force yourself to talk about stuff you don't want to talk about.
Did I follow it to a T? Probably not.
I guarantee you didn't. I can say that right now.
But it was good because Steven had the notes from when the Sony one came out. So there's really no difference other than the weight and the mount.
Exactly. That was the only two things.
And so I took it out on the Z9 because the Z8 and the Z9 are exactly the same. I'm not using a Z6 or a Z7, a Z50, a Z30, a ZF, ZFC. I'm not using that camera just because it's not... we know how those things focus. But I took it out and I photographed a kid on the beach, Richie's kid on the beach at a birthday party. And also I went over to a park where my friend takes her kids every day, which are great little models. You're going to see them in a bunch of videos coming up because they're just easy to photograph or fun to photograph, and they're kids. They make for great photos. And so I took it out there and got some nice results. There were a few times where I felt like the autofocus was stuck on the cheek and it didn't move quickly to the eye. And I don't know if that's a Nikon autofocus thing algorithm or if it's a lens talking to the camera thing, but I didn't feel like it was missing, right?
It has the same focusing motors as the Sony version, so the lens should be identical inside.
Yeah.
So if anything's hindering it, it would be the body at this point.
It would probably be the body. I love that range. 35 to 150 covers so much. Now it's a $2,000 lens instead of a $1,900 lens on the Sony, so it's slightly more expensive by $100. But it is one of those one lenses to rule them all if you want to travel with it. Or, I mean, it could be the one lens you have. You can do portraits. You can't get ultra wide angle, but you got your 35, you cover the 50, you cover an 85, a 105, a 135, and a 150, all going from 2 to 2.8.
It's multiple primes and zooms built into one body. It's pretty incredible, and to me it's replaced the trusty 24 to 105 or 24 to 120 from Nikon. Why not just buy this lens? It is more expensive than say the 24 to 120, but it's just so much more versatile in my opinion. Now the f2, where does that go again? Where's it go to 2.8?
39 millimeters. It goes to 2.1 at 40.
2.2
or no 2.1. I saw
2.1.
Yeah. There were in betweens. It even goes to 2.7.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
No, I went through a true third stop increment or whatever.
I did it. No, it was in between. I don't know where my notes are. Hold on. I don't know where my notes are, Steven. I don't want to get the wrong notes, but I don't know where those notes are. But I did write it down. It was like 35 to 39. I don't remember.
The other thing that we were a little concerned about was the frame rate. Like, does the body, like the Sony's, restrict it, since it's a third-party lens, to only 15 frames a second? So if you were using an A1 or an A9 II, you're limited to not the full 30 frames a second. Now with Nikon, was that the same case? Did they limit it this time? Because it seems to be only the body limiting it, not the lens itself.
Nope, you got 20 frames a second. You got 30 frames a second without a problem.
Okay. Even
shot it that way.
The 60 and 120, I guess.
I didn't try 60 and 120. I just wanted to go to 30 because if it did that, it probably does the rest.
So that's good. So Nikon's not limiting it like Sony.
No. They didn't hinder it. They didn't limit it. It's good. Like, I'm really happy with the pictures that I got. Do I think that it's going to be as good as a prime lens? The answer is no. Do I think that anybody's going to know the difference? The answer is no. You'll know the difference. Do you miss some shots with the autofocus? Yeah, every once in a while. Like if you do a burst, a quick burst of 10 images, it's like the second image might be out, but by the third image, it's back in.
Exactly.
And it's fine. Like, it's a good option. It would be a nice option to have on Canon. It really would.
I've always said it. If this lens came out when I was shooting concerts, 10, 15 years ago, this would have been like the one lens to rule them all. I mean, yeah, I would want like an ultra wide zoom as well, but for the most part, 35 to 150, that's really all the range you need when shooting a show.
I still feel that it's not as like tack sometimes sharp.
Which is fine because you're paying like half the price of what you would be paying for first party.
In the low light, in the stuff I shot out in the park is tremendous, because I took it. So it's
now, speaking of price, by the way, this is $100 more than the Sony version. Now I assume that's because Nikon is charging some sort of licensing fee for Tamron to join the Z mount. But still, $100, that's not the end of the world. I'll gladly pay $100 to be offered a lens like this, third party wise.
Someone asked me, well, what about on the Z50? And it's like, well, and I probably wouldn't buy it on a Z50. I would wait till you get a full frame because it's a great range. It really is a cool lens. And it's still heavy. It's a heavy lens. It's like 2.6 pounds or something.
Be like a 50 to 225 equivalent on APS-C.
I mean, that's good, but it's great for portraits. It's great for that 35 at f2. You'll see in the video where I went vertical with the kid close to me just to show it's not as easy to get close to a kid at 35 before they run away. And you'll see from the EVF footage how fast when they make that look and I shoot and then they look away a split second later, but I already froze that perfect moment because I'm good.
Because
and it also doesn't hurt to shoot at 20 frames a second. I shot like 500 pictures in 10 minutes because the other problem with the Z9 is you never know when you're shooting pictures in silent. It just the box that blinks isn't visual enough versus the Canon with the R3. I see the box blink, so I know I'm shooting. And with the Sony, you know you're shooting. But with the Nikon, it's almost impossible to know you're shooting.
I still think you should turn on the audible sound for the shutter and just put it all the way down. So it's like one tick up. It's just enough for you to hear it and not so much be a bother to anybody else around you.
What I'm hoping for is they go Bluetooth and you can put a sensor around your balls. No, you put a sensor so that when you shoot it, it vibrates and you're like, oh yeah, I'm taking pictures. Hey, hi guys, it's Mickey.
But yeah, with the Canon R3, you can actually listen to the shutter sound through headphones if you connect them right to the camera. I think that came down via a firmware
Did that actually
update early
happen?
on. Yeah, I think
They finally came out with that?
I'm pretty sure with the R3, it's like that.
Oh, never tried it.
Yeah, I don't think you would ever really have a need for it, but I think it's for, again, those people that want that feedback, but they still need to be quiet. They can wear like headphones or AirPods, whatever.
So if you're thinking about getting that lens for Nikon in terms of autofocus, just know it's going to focus very similar to other Nikon lenses. So you know how your system focuses if you have a Z6, Z7, or anything else. So it's going to focus very similar to what you're used to. So that's a good thing.
And this lens doesn't have IS, right? It fully relies on the IBIS.
Yeah, built in. Yeah, it's not in the lens.
Okay. And you really had no issues with any shake or anything like that?
No, I mean, I wasn't shooting very fast.
Usually you do shoot fast, though.
I mean, I wasn't shooting very slow.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
I was like, usually you're like at least, 1/800th of a second, I feel like.
Yeah, I tend to be pretty fast. I mean, that's the picture that I took of the kid. I actually like the one where he's off to the left-hand side better than in the center. It just feels more, for me, it just feels compositionally better.
Feels more like a photo that you would show at the theater.
I'm going to show it at theater. Speaking of theaters, I wasn't even going to mention this, but you like something that you would show. I am working on my presentation for the build thing and the B&H thing, September 6th.
Yes.
I think I know what I'm going to do.
Before you get to that, did you confirm which days you're going?
I'm going on the 6th.
Well, I know you're obviously going the day you're speaking, but are you going the next day too?
I may stay until lunchtime and go home. It depends on how the day before goes. It depends how I feel. You know me.
So it's going to be up in the air.
Yeah, I mean, I have a hotel room for the night, so I figure I might as well stay the night.
I would.
I might as well, and we'll see if I get a visitor or not. Hey, yeah. Hey, what's up, John? Jenny.
I'm Jenny.
Hi, did someone ask for Jenny? Yes. Steven, you're about to be canceled. You have a baby coming, a daughter, and you're just going to get canceled for that.
Yep.
So I do have an idea for what my presentation is going to be, and it's definitely going to be surprising to people. And I know what direction I want to go, so I'm going to go there. We're gonna tug at the heartstrings of people.
Are you showing like a certain slideshow of images, or?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to show pictures. So I'm going to work through a photo story, one of my early photo stories. We're going to work through that. I'm going to discuss it. I'm going to explain it, and then we'll open it to Q&A. But I want to go that direction. That's what I want to talk about. So that's September 6th. I will be speaking, I think, at 4 o'clock. And if you want to be there, please be there. It's free. You can go to B&H's website. I don't know what my affiliate link is, but it's free to attend, free to sign up. So go ahead and do that. And there's a bunch of other stuff going on.
I think it's bit.ly/frobuild, as in BILD. That is the actual link.
Thanks, Steven. And the rumor on the Canon website, there's a lot of rumors on stuff like a new camera coming, high end, but they just put out that they're expecting 8 to 10 RF or RFS lenses before March. Moving on to the Canon rumors, one of the rumors I want to talk about is that they expect 8 to 10 RF/RF lenses before March.
It's about time, Canon.
Well, I don't know. I venture to say that they're going to put out more RFS type lenses, but
they only
even
have
if they did
3, I think, right?
Well, I don't care about RFS lenses, and I don't think anybody else should really care about them.
Well, I would care if I was shooting with an R7 or an R10 or an R100. There's a lot of bodies now with limited lenses. You're not going to be putting a $2,000 L lens on an R100.
Yeah, I guess for the vloggy, they should come out with some faster glass. Do you see that, Steven? Do you see my arm? You see that? You see that? I caught my arm in the video recording as I was scratching my head.
As he's scratching his head.
I was like, Steven, do you see the shape of that arm forming? Amazing. I never saw Shape of Water. I never saw that movie, The Shape of Water, where that woman sleeps with the alien.
I got nothing.
It's kind of like The Whale, but not an alien. Anyway, I don't know what to expect.
Well, I think they still need, speaking of RFS, a wide angle, an ultra wide angle lens. Really, the only lenses they have are like the kit lenses, which start at 18 millimeters, which is a 24 millimeter full frame equivalent. They need something like the 11 to 22 or whatever that they had for the what was that line? The M line.
M line. I'm hoping for 35-1.2 ultra wide angle 10 to 20 2.8 or f2 or 11 to 20 f2 for full frame.
11 to 20 f2. There's no way that's happening.
You never know, Steven. It's Canon.
They had an 11 to 24 f4. 11 to 20 f2 would be like this a 1 foot diameter lens probably.
Steven, we'll see what they come out with. I mean, I'd be fine with a 12 to 24 2.8.
I agree.
Something.
I want something like Sony has, like a 12 to 24. I don't need that extra millimeter at 11. I'd rather have the 2.8 versus 4. Granted, the 11 to 24 is a super nice range, and I still remember when we were on that New Orleans trip that the engineers were saying like that was their hardest thing to conquer was the 11 to 24.
Still a great. No, actually, it's not that great on digital, I found, on the newer mirrorless, but it's still an amazing lens for the time.
I still think it's fine. I wouldn't be surprised if your model got banged up a bit and maybe it's just a little shifted or something. We had that one issue with the 28 to 70 f2 that was like that. I just think they really get banged around in your bags.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to have a 24 to 1.4 finally for the RF. They're going to have the 35-1.2. That's been rumored forever. I don't know why it's taking them so long. And then what was that? The 200 to 500 f4L. That's another one that's rumored.
I forgot about it. 200 to 400 L without a TC. And then what about a 200 f2
to 500?
Yes, without a TC.
Without a TC instead of a 200 to 400 with a TC.
Yeah. 200 to 500 would be fine. You don't need the TC, and it's just better.
Exactly.
You don't need more. You don't need that 640.
Now that's going to be a super expensive lens, I'm sure, but
$16,000 roughly was what the rumors were saying.
By the way, back to the 300-2.8 from Sony. What is that going to be priced at? 10, 8,
12, 9? Actually, no. I think a 300-2.8 should be around $8,000.
That's what I thought. The Nikon and Canon equivalents were always like $7-8,000, brand new.
Yeah. I just don't want to carry a 300-2.8. That's why I got that 300 f4 PF from Nikon.
That Nikon version was incredible. It was so small and lightweight, and I don't care if it's f4 at that point.
No,
you're shooting at 300 millimeters.
It was like the choice is not taking a 300 at all,
yep,
or having a 300 that you can actually use. That was really amazing. That PF lens I kept that. I kept that, the 105 macro and the 105 1.4, though I should probably get rid of
that 300 f4 would come in handy for me when I would shoot like a concert, and it would be a soundboard shoot, and I would have nothing with me except the 300 f4 that I brought by chance, because sometimes it was a gamble. You weren't sure if you were shooting from the pit or from the soundboard, and thankfully I would have that. I think the one show I shot with like the 300 f4 and the D500, this is going back to like 2016.
I'm the only one who hated that camera, by the way.
The only issue I had when I would pair it with that lens, especially too, is the VR would always shift. Like the frame would shift in camera when I would be shooting, and it would always mess my composition up. And I don't know if it
does that all the time. That's the active VR. That's how the VR works. It shifts in when you press the button halfway,
which is such a pain.
Yep, it always shifts, and it's frustrating.
Yeah. I'm glad that Canon finally has a bunch of lenses coming down the pipeline. It's been a minute since we've had really any lenses from them. What was the last new one from them? The
100 to 300.
Well, I mean, more like consumer friendly, not a $10,000 lens.
I don't know.
135?
I really don't know. 135 1.8, but that's a pro lens. I really don't know, Steven. It's been
like
a while.
$2-3 grand.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
And just to wrap it up, I do think that beginning of 2024 with the Olympics coming, right? Is it the Paris Olympics? What is it?
Yeah, Paris.
I think that's where Canon's just going to unload everything. The R1, the R5 Mark II, all these new lenses. And I'm curious if it'll be a year like the R5, R6 when they came out and they really, brought the lineup back up.
We'll see what's going to happen, because it's going to be, I mean, there's always new gear coming for us, but we'll see what happens.
I just really want to see what the A1 Mark II has to offer along with the R1. I'm really curious with what Nikon has put out now, how they're going to fire back. Might be nothing. It might be something incredible. Who knows?
I don't think Nikon can fire back with anything. I don't think Nikon is capable of firing back.
No, I'm saying what Canon and Sony will fire back with.
Oh, I was going to say, because Nikon they blew their load on the Z8, right? And then they had to recall all of them. They stopped shipping them for a minute, by the way, so they took them all out of stock to then refix them to send them back.
I mean, I still think for that price, though, you're getting an incredible camera with tons of features loaded for $4,000.
You are.
Flagship features, literally. It's a freaking Z9.
It is, but I don't know how they follow that up.
Exactly.
Speaking of shooting your load, I am switching to Fuji. I am now a Fuji shooter. One time. So, for those who don't know, I have trouble getting gear from Fuji. For whatever reason, I reached out to B&H because I'm like, look, I want to try this GFX 100S. It's the full frame. It's their large format, like medium format style mirrorless camera. I'm told that the lenses are amazing. I put together a list of stuff that I wanted B&H to send me to borrow, and they sent me review. They sent it to me the next day. $18,000 worth of gear showed up the next day just to send it so I could play with it. I got some help setting it up. I took it out to the Phillies game last night as the first thing to use it with. And I know people are sitting there going, but that's not what you're supposed to use that camera for. And the answer I always say to that is like, you can use a camera for anything. And I like to take cameras into situations that they're not always meant to be, but the results that you potentially could get are going to be fantastic.
Push it to its limit. Yeah, I mean, that was the one thing I always liked about when you would shoot concerts in low light is you would really push those cameras to the extreme when it came to high ISO, where everybody else would be shooting just base ISO and being like, it's great, everything's perfect, the sensor's beautiful. It's like, yeah, but it goes to Swiss cheese at 1600 ISO or something.
Yeah. And I do want to make it abundantly clear before anybody out there starts to yell at me and is like, you're going to find issues and you're trying to compare it to a Z9 and a mirrorless, modern mirrorless camera. And the answer is I'm not. In some ways, I'm going to be like, yeah, it doesn't do this like a mirrorless camera, but the size of the sensor in this thing is massive, which means the size of the shutter is massive. So it takes the shutter longer to clear the sensor, so you can't shoot as fast, but you could do 5 frames a second.
I wanted to talk about that too, because I think last week you had mentioned it was like 10 or 14 frames a second, and I remember being like, what? That doesn't make sense. It's medium format. It's 5 frames per second with the mechanical shutter, or you could do 2 frames a second if you want a longer buffer. And you get up to 16 frames, so you can basically shoot for 3 seconds, give or take, straight through.
You could, if you hold that shutter, so there's
because this is what SD card, right? It's not even like a CF Express of any sort, so it probably, that buffer fills quick because it can't write these massive files that fast to these SD cards.
My uncompressed 16-bit RAW files are 230 megabytes. Now, once you go into, that's if you shoot single shot. If you go into the high frame rate, you end up with 14-bit. It automatically switches to 14 when you shoot at the 5 frames a second.
And I will say it is nice to have that 16-bit option with that crazy high dynamic range at the stadium if you're in between, high noon or something where you got the crazy blue sky and everything else is in shade. Bleachers and all. The whole stadium's shaded.
From what I'm told is that it's no true 16-bit anywhere. It's really like 15.2 is what someone
Still
told
better
me.
than 14.
But yeah, so...
Will you notice a difference? Probably not.
No, you'll never notice a difference. What I noticed first and foremost, there's some things I like about the camera, like where you change the aperture, the front finger dial, like what the A6700 added and what all the Nikons have, that front dial for changing aperture. If you that button is pressable in, so if you press it in, it unlocks it to control the aperture. If you press it in again, it changes it so now you can change the ISO. So sometimes I'm accidentally changing aperture when I didn't realize I was locked into didn't have the ISO on.
Like other brands where sometimes you have to combine like 2 buttons to make it have 2 different functions. You can still use the same button. It's just you're pressing it in multiple times to
you press
features.
it in and release. It's not like press and hold. It's press and release and it unlocks.
No, that's
you
nice.
You can change all that.
Because Canon, you could do stuff like that, but you have to like hit another button and then that button to change it to the other feature. And it's a little annoying.
So that's smart. It has this e-ink display that's always on up top, which isn't a big deal.
Yeah, they've had that for quite some time.
The body feels nice. It's a big body. You can't get a grip, but it feels very nice in the hands. The lenses are nice. I hate the aperture ring on the lenses. You unlock it by accident all the time where I put my hand. It's right there. When I put my hand underneath, my thumb goes right onto the unlock.
The one thing about Fuji for me is the menu system. I think it's always been a very confusing, crazy deep menu system.
You just have to get used to it like anything else.
Of course.
And I still don't know where things are. But this was literally the first time I shot this camera, and I chose baseball. One of the hardest things because how is the focus tracking? It has IAF. It has face detect, and it works pretty well. I did switch into zone focus a little later on just because I felt that it wasn't finding what I wanted. It was also very difficult to know if you were super sharp in the camera or not. And that's because I don't find that EVF very sharp. I didn't find that EVF to be very responsive. I was told that you can turn on a higher res version of it, or then you have the option to make it faster frame rate, but you can't do both.
I was going to say, that's the same with Sony, and I hate it. They market it as like a 9.44 million dot viewfinder, but really you're only seeing that 9.44 million dots when you're reviewing images. When you're shooting at the highest frame rate, it dumbs it down significantly, or if you're changing it to the highest refresh rate. So you're really not getting what they're marketing it as.
The biggest issue I had was the lag between what I saw and when I pressed the shutter. I felt that I was behind every swing because I see it, I anticipate it, I press the shutter waiting for the swing, and I already missed the swing because it takes I wonder what the response time is from pressing the shutter or versus the millisecond. How many milliseconds it is from seeing the image to actually it's already past you by the time you see it. So I don't know about that.
Through the viewfinder, you're saying.
Through the viewfinder, and then from when you press the shutter. You just get you have to figure out that timing.
And I do think, minus the flagships, a lot of the mirrorless cameras have that issue where it's a millisecond behind, a very small fraction of time behind of what you're actually seeing live in front of you. So you tend to sometimes miss stuff because of that.
And I'm not downplaying the quality. When you're looking through the camera, it's very difficult to see because I would zoom in on a picture and I'm like, is this sharp? But it's zooming in on the smallest part of the frame, like the smallest box. And so it was just hard to see the rendering. Is this good? Is this not? Am I missing focus? So it was laggy behind. I used the 250 millimeter lens, the 110, the 80, and the 23 to shoot the wide angles. And so I felt that it was a struggle while I was shooting. Right. And I left in the 7th inning like I normally do. I'm going to go back because now after looking at pictures in the computer, I was like, when I do hit, I hit pretty good. You're like, wow, this is really cool. And those wide shots of the stadium upstairs are fantastic. I was shooting when Schwarber hit a home run. I have the pitcher throwing the pitch. It was very difficult from being where I was, which is super far away, to look through the viewfinder to even see, because you don't have good enough resolution to see when the pitcher is throwing the pitch. So I kind of had to line it up, hold my eye away from the camera to wait for the pitch, then shoot the picture. But I don't like doing that because then my lines don't get perfectly straight if I'm not looking through.
It's almost better off to have like an external monitor and view it that way if that's the case.
Yeah, but I'm gonna go back and try again because I sent you the raw file. If you shoot at f11, that's more like f8 or f9. If you're shooting at f16, which I was told because of diffraction, you may not want to be up that high. You just got to think that it's the opposite of APS-C. So it's time when you want to find the lens focal length, you multiply it by 0.8. Instead of 1.5.
Yeah.
And so it goes backwards.
Like your 110 is like an 85, 1.4 equivalent.
And the 250 f4 is like a 200 millimeter 2.8 almost.
Yeah.
And I was told not to be afraid of ISO because the sensor is so large that it is much better at higher ISOs, though I did try to keep it down in certain situations.
Did you have any issues with it being limited to 1/4000th of a second shooting sports?
No, well, the sun wasn't actually out, so...
okay, so you couldn't even get that high anyway.
No.
I'm curious how it would be if you shoot it, when it's like high noon, like a 1 o'clock game.
There's a 1 o'clock game next Wednesday. We don't know if Shohei Ohtani is going to actually play. He's slightly hurt right now, so that would be a disappointment. But I don't want to just shoot baseball. I want to maybe go to Longwood Gardens and shoot something there, more landscaping.
Jared Polin shooting landscapes? Who are you?
Well, I want to shoot portraits with it, too, of the kids in the park. I want to try everything. I want to use this as it's like a mirrorless camera. It's when I say a mirrorless, I mean like a Z9, a Z8, R1, R3, A1, any of those cameras. This is $6,000. Now, does it respond as fast as a Sony, Nikon, or Canon? The answer is no.
Yeah, but the point of this camera is the sensor. It's not a sports camera. Yeah.
It's not that, but if you can use it for that, that's great. So I want to get out to the field for more batting practice, because that's when I can get on the field and get closer to the players, maybe get some portraits with some of the wider lenses. And it was cool. I like the challenge.
No, I think it's great that you're getting out of your comfort zone with something like a Fuji and medium format, especially, that we really rarely use. Have you tried the electronic shutter on that? Because I assume it's probably crazy slow, if I had to guess.
Yeah, the warping. I haven't tried it. Maybe I'll do it just for a batter to see what it looks like.
It's probably like 100 milliseconds. If we think the A7R5's bad, I'm sure this is like 10 times worse.
Well, I'll try it. I like the challenge of something new. Do you miss the ability to shoot 20 and 30 frames a second? Yes, but that's not this. And that's what I want to keep coming back to, is that's not what this is intended for. And so it's not a knock on it to say that it does 5 frames. The fact that it does 5 frames a second is tremendous for the size of the sensor. Just the autofocus isn't going to keep up. It's just not as fast. And some of the lenses aren't as fast.
Wasn't medium format like the Hassies from back in the day? Weren't they always like limited to like 1, 2, maybe 3 frames a second at most?
Well, they were they were 1 frame, and then you had to wind for the film.
No, I'm talking about the digital Hassies though, when they came.
They were like 1 frame a second.
Yeah, they were always super slow.
One focusing point in the middle.
Yep, like you were shooting a portrait and boom, done. That's it.
So I did go into single focus for some of the batter stuff, where I would move. I like how you can change the focusing area from the full area down to pinpoint. You press the knob, the knipple in, and then you just turn the back dial, and it cycles through the different focusing modes, and then you could select the boxes. That was good.
Fuji was always good with that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some good stuff to it. Now that I've seen the results I got, I'm more happy, because I didn't know that it was doing anything good when I was out there, because I couldn't tell in the camera.
Now you got to get the Hasselblad, the X2D 100C version, and compare
I'm told
it to
that's
that.
terrible. I'm told
that's
that is the slowest.
I think that's 3 frames a second.
That is the slowest, clunkiest focusing slow lens camera in the history of cameras, I think. At least that's what I'm told. So,
were you shooting any of the what the hell? What does Fuji call it? Picture style.
The chrome, the film simulations.
Yeah. Were you shooting any of the film simulations?
No, but I'm told that you can change the film simulation after the fact.
Well, yeah, Lightroom has them built in where you can go and change your color profile and match. And it's a lot better than what it used to be, because Fuji sensors weren't made the same as your conventional Bayer filter array sensor. It was their X-Trans technology. So they always said use Capture One for Fuji because it renders the color better and blah, blah, blah. Well, now Lightroom has their own baked in profiles from the camera and all the film simulations as well. So it should be a lot better at rendering the colors and making it more true to what the Fuji
Do you know what I threw on
camera.
It? Thick. I threw some thick on it.
With 3 Cs.
Thick looked really good. Kaleidoscope and Skittles looked good.
Just keep in mind, thick's going to completely crush that dynamic range.
It's fine. I'm looking at what makes the best image for me.
Well, yeah, you
visually.
want tons of contrast, so that makes sense.
I'm going for what's for me, and so it was cool to use. I want to shoot portraits. Yeah, Fropack 4. Yes, I want to shoot everything. That's my thing. I love the challenge of trying something different. It would probably be really good for golf. Except for it's going to make some noise, but it would kind of be good. Why I say it would be good for golf, because I can think of that Bagger Vance shot from behind where you have the whole open field and you focus on the golfer. They swing, you nail it, and it's just such a wide field of view and such a large format. I mean, that the picture behind home plate where you have the pitcher and the ball's halfway to home plate. I only shot that at 1/160th of a second, but how cool is that shot?
Yeah.
Like it's a 4:3 aspect ratio, so it's slightly different. It's more square than the 2:3, but I look forward to going and trying more.
How loud is that mechanical shutter, by the way? Is it like kerplunk?
No, it's not that loud.
No?
It really isn't that loud. No, the camera is well put together. There's rumors. The rumor sites are talking
about. It's not a leaf shutter or anything, right?
No, it's a regular shutter.
Okay.
The rumors are right now that there's a replacement for this camera that I'm using right now coming out and being announced in a couple weeks.
Perfect time to review it.
I'm not reviewing the camera.
I know. I'm kidding.
I'm not reviewing it. That's the point. I'm not reviewing it. I'm just using it. The lenses aren't going to change. Maybe the focusing, the sensor stuff gets better. This is still a fantastic camera.
Just remember, say nothing negative about it because Fuji will ban us again.
I'm trying to talk to Fuji because they're going to have a meeting. The X Summit is in Sweden. I want to go to Sweden because there's no, Borka. There's women there, and I just want to walk up to them, and this is how I would ask out the woman. Borka. Borka. Meet. Borka. And they'll be like, what are you talking about?
What was it? Gold Member that was from Sweden too?
Gold Member?
Austin Powers.
I don't remember Gold Member at all.
That was the third one, I think.
I don't remember.
Oh no, he's from Holland.
Got it. So that's my Fuji talk right now. I took all those cameras. Oh, I recorded the Go 3 on my chest, and I took the Insta360 1-inch 360 camera. The plan is to make a vlog about this, about my experience taking it out to these situations and using it, and I think it's going to be a good vlog. Dan's really good at cutting together vlogs out of nothing, which is good. He's really good at that. And so that's this type of thing is my experience using it, coming back to the computer to show you some stuff and giving you my thoughts.
Yeah, I personally love when you step out of your comfort zone and you try something new for the first time. I don't love when we compare it to like cameras that are just completely different. But if you're just saying, this is the camera, I used it first time using it, these are my thoughts, blah, blah, blah. I think that's going to be a cool video.
Yeah, I think the way that it's going to work is like I recorded some of my thoughts when I got home, and I'm like, I don't know that it was in focus. Like everything felt weird, not because it's a different camera, just because it just didn't look like it was sharp in the camera. And there were some quirky things with reviewing images. And then I sat there and looked at it on my laptop, and I'm like, damn, like these I did hit. And
you've said that about like Sony viewfinders in the past, that, their screens are shitty and bad quality. And then you get in the computer and you're like, wow, these look great.
Yep. So I'm looking forward to shooting more with it. I have a good lens. I didn't get any zoom lenses for it. I don't know if I should have gotten like the 45 to 100, but I like primes for this.
I think it's more of a challenge too with a prime.
Yeah, it's just a little short for shooting the picture. It's a little short for things in the field. And the answer that, of course, the Fuji people that I know gave me were, well, if you crop 50, half of it, you still have 50 megapixels. Yeah. I'm like, yeah. I mean, I may just look at that. I'm not going to personally do that.
Because I don't crop.
Headshots from the top. No, I'm not going to do that.
I still don't get the cropping thing, but whatever.
So what? We don't. Well, do you want me to tell you again the cropping thing, Steven?
I know why. It's just if it makes it a better image, why not?
Because I didn't shoot it that way, and I don't want to second guess every single photo that I take.
But you don't have to second guess it.
Yes, you do. I'm very
you can easily
like
just be like, oh, let me see if I can make something better out of this.
I don't straighten lines because my lines are already perfect. So my lines are really goddamn good,
There's plenty
Steven.
of times where I'm like, you should try that transform tool real quick.
That's transform. That has nothing to do with me. That's the lens and the sensor.
Too.
No. And I don't like it most of the time you say to do it.
I think it looks so much better.
When are you going out? When did I have my podcast to myself?
Never question Jared Polin, everybody.
Never.
I don't know. At this point, it's all up in the air. It's a gamble. It's going to be like every night I'm getting like no sleep because anytime Nicole moves, I'm like, is it now? Is it happening?
Well, don't sleep with her.
But yeah, it's going to be any day now. So we'll see.
But what if she flips again?
I think it would be an emergency C-section when we go in.
But does she know when it's flipping?
She just feels uncomfortable all the time now at this point, so it's hard to say. Sometimes she thinks she's flipping, but then we find out that that was just like her foot or butt or something kicking her.
Yeah, just like get out of here.
Yeah, but this is like the third time I think that she's completely flipped. So we'll see what happens. But it's gonna be any day now, and next week's gonna be totally up in the air.
When you coming to get a camera? By the way,
well, that was the one saving grace was that I completely forgot.
Is her name Grace?
No, I forgot to get a camera and bring it home. I mean, obviously I have my 5D Mark IV, which is for sale if anyone wants to buy it. I still have that collecting dust in my office, but I obviously don't really want to use that this day and age, especially my lens collection. I've sold a lot of my lenses at this point, so I don't have much left. Yeah, I completely forgot to bring a camera home, and Monday night, we were scheduled to go in the next morning, and I'm like, oh my God, I forgot the camera. And I was going to run to work, but I just didn't have time, and it ended up not happening anyway. So I'm gonna run to work at some point this week or weekend and grab a camera, and hopefully it's before she's here. Because I definitely would love to bring like an R5 with a 28 to 70 f2 or something, and we'll see. I mean, I don't even know if I'm gonna take many pictures. Like, it's probably not the best time to be taking.
You should be taking pictures. It's about photojournalism, Steven. It's not about anything else. You want those pictures to remember everything by.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would do, maybe, if I ever do that.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But my plan is to try and grab a camera before we go in.
I think you should take the 360 camera and place it in the corner, in the middle of the room, so you get everything. Put the Go 3 on your head while you're shooting like I do.
And then I'll vlog it while I'm at it, too.
Why don't you live stream it while you're doing it to our fans and charge money for
have
Patreon?
like 17 cameras up and running.
Like, here we go. Here it comes. There's the head.
Put a GoPro on the doctor delivering the baby on his head.
Stat. Do it. You're 4 inches dilated.
And then when the baby comes out, put the GoPro on the baby. First person POV of a baby being born.
Wah.
Oh my God.
I'm still waiting for the name.
You'll find out soon enough.
I hope so. Am I going to get a text?
I think you'll get a text, yes.
Okay.
It might not be immediately, but yeah, it'll probably happen.
No, I want it immediately. I want to know that
my
if it's
family
born
knows immediately.
Well, you have like a text line with them.
I do.
A text chat. So
200 people on that text line.
Jesus Christ, your family's insane. All right, guys. Episode 65 right here. Steven may or may not be on here next week.
Yes.
It's a crapshoot. If he's not on, we'll have a special guest by the name of
Hello?
Borka Borka.
Huh?
Borka Borka
Hi.
Borka Borka.
This isn't Steven.
This is Mickey Mouse. So anyway, we thank you guys for listening. What, Steven?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up again, it's been a minute. If you guys can rate and review over on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, leave a written review. If you choose to do so, that would be great. Make it positive, if possible. People love to really speak their mind on that review page. Let's just say that.
But that's the best part of podcasts. I don't get to see comments, and I don't really give a shit. Steven's like, we got another negative comment, and it's because of you. And I'm like,
about
okay.
99% of the time, that's the reason, yeah.
We get plenty. You could call or text. You could text us. 267. Nope. 313. In the description. It's in the description.
313-710-9729.
That's it. I still need to find my piece of paper.
And just a reminder, FroPack 4 is officially live. FroNosPhoto.com/FroPack4. You can see the befores and afters.
Feed the baby.
We got to feed the newborn. So, I mean, without purchasing FroPack, I'm not going to get
Feed the baby. Speaking of feeding Morgan, Morgan's now in college. For anybody that was listening to the podcast back in the day and Todd used to say feed Morgan, Morgan has left for college. I'm not going to say where.
I DM'd him on Instagram and I put hashtag feed Morgan's college tuition.
And did you get a thumbs up emoji?
I got nothing back, actually.
Oh, all right. That sounds about right. All right. RAWtalk 65. Thank you guys very much for listening. Jared Polin, FroNosPhoto.com. See ya.
Bye.